DNVR Broncos live, coming to you from Studio A, where the A stands for abysmal.
Just week in and week out, it seems like that's it.
Have we done that one yet?
Probably.
Yesterday?
I would think so. Yeah, probably
think
yesterday.
it was
Yesterday. It was in the
thumbnail.
It was abysmal offense.
Yeah. And then, because remember, I Googled, abysmal is like abyss. So it's like you're in the abyss.
We're
That's where abysmal
in
comes
that.
from. Yeah, it's definitely an abyss.
We could go with abject failure.
Keep going.
Absolutely disgusting.
I don't know if we need to face all of them.
Well, we're just
we're gonna be in
this
Studio
is
A
a
for a couple-
brainstorm. To
Yeah,
save
yeah.
for later in the
And then
season.
you just rotate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I guess I'll start with this. I'm not fully done, so I can't. I can't completely answer this because usually we would go later in the day. But I think I know what my answer is. Henry, after rewatching the game, do you feel better or worse?
I think worse. Again, I'm still in the second quarter too, but like it's all over. Like during the game, at least it was fun, you know? Like you're like, okay, here it comes. They still have a chance. They're still right there.
Right.
There was
Like,
always hope.
Yes. When you go back and watch, you know what's happening. You know they're not figuring anything out. You watch them make the same mistakes over and over again, and you're not thinking, like, at least the defense is keeping them in it. It's just painful.
Yeah, I felt horrible yesterday, and I feel worse.
Yeah, and I feel worse as well. And one thing that we didn't talk about, which is just an extra kicker to all of it, the Broncos got a 10-0 lead on a team that is built to not come back. And then that team went on a 17-point unanswered run to end the game. That is just, I mean, if you're ever going to get a lead and not blow it, it's against that team.
Yeah.
You would think.
I mean, if you get a lead against the Raiders, it's like, okay, well, they have like weapons where they can throw the ball. I could kind of see that. Not against the especially, it's not like Derrick Henry then started playing well. No, he was shut down the whole game.
Yep. And when I was watching it, I felt like there were two opportunities to kind of just not necessarily end it, but keep that sort of control where you're making them throw the ball. The first was at the end of the first half when they gave that ball up and you're thinking like, okay, it could be 10-0 going into the second half. You know it's going to take them a couple possessions.
You
get the ball too. Just make sure you have that couple possession lead, and the defense is going to be okay. They give up that touchdown. After that, though, you think the same thing. It's like, okay, you get the ball after halftime. You make this a 2-score lead again, and all of a sudden you're forcing them to throw the ball, which turned out to be what worked better for them than running the ball, which is strange. But then they failed those two back-to-back sequences with was it 3-and-out after halftime? I don't think so. There was a weirdly small number of 3-and-outs yesterday, considering the 9 punts. But and those were the two opportunities to kind of keep control of that game, and they didn't do it.
And this is a great opportunity for me to tell you guys we're presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Use the code DNVR and you sign up over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Bet 5 on any NBA money line, get $200 in free bets. Remember how yesterday I said I was having a rough start to the day?
Yep.
Had an incredible finish to the day.
Hey, there you go. Capitalize on a Chargers loss, I'd imagine.
Actually, no. I was too focused on the Nuggets game.
Yep.
So I hit Packers plus 1,200 when they were down 14 late in the third quarter. And that was basically the big boost. And then I went 3 for 3 on the Nuggets game. Nuggets money line, Jokic assists, MPJ threes.
Dang, there
Jokic
you go.
assist probably hit in the first half.
It did. Yeah, he got 9 in the first half.
He had 12
Or
in
no,
the first
12
half.
in the first half.
Yeah.
Yeah, 9.
Man, how good is that going into a second half and you already hit it?
Yeah, it was great. And MPJ had 2 threes in the first quarter. He only needed 1 more the rest of the game.
I'm hoping
Anyways.
Wednesday I get to go to that Nuggets game. There's nothing better than having like a same game parlay where you're sitting there. It's like, oh, I need 3 bones threes, and he hits them all in the first quarter. You're like, oh shit, I'm 4 for 6 already.
So, anyways, get over to DraftKings. Shout out to them for sponsoring this show. You know what really set in for me over the last, whatever it's been, 12 hours or...
Sadness?
How bad this offense is?
Yes, but not just how bad it is. We are currently witnessing the worst offense in Broncos history.
Yeah. That's what I was saying last night is Brock Osweiler, Drew Lock, Paxton Lynch led offenses that scored, 18-ish points a game. All of those guys were right around there.
Yeah, I mean, like Marlon Briscoe, Frank Tripucka.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking 1966 is the last time a Broncos offense got off to this bad of a start. That they weren't even playing real football back then.
Yep.
So that is what has hit me, is you have to account for offensive inflation, which is at an all-time high. Actually, not an all-time high. It's come back a little bit this year.
It's still up, though.
But it's up insanely from 1966.
Yeah.
And like the inflation between then and now is insane. Basically double.
Yeah.
And this is the worst Broncos offense ever in history.
Yeah.
No matter what you look at.
And we have Jordan in the comment section throwing out Kyle Lorton, Tim Tebow. Throw any name you want out. It's worse than those.
Yeah, Bubby Brister.
Yeah, anything. Just keep them rolling. And what is just not even salt on the wound. What's even more intense than salt on the wound?
Acid on the wound.
Acid on the wound is that would probably no. Okay, never mind. The thing that's acid on the wound is you have an offensive head coach because it was supposed to be designed. Okay, let's make the defense worse to make the offense better this year. And you have Russell Wilson. It was not supposed to be like this. Like, it would still be disgusting if this was last year with a defensive-minded head coach and a second-round pick and Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater. That would still be gross. But now it's supposed to be good.
It wouldn't even be gross because last year they averaged 19 points per game. And if they scored exactly 18 points per game, I tweeted this out, in every game, 18 in regulation, they're 8-1 right now.
Insane. Absolutely insane. And there's only a couple of teams that are averaging under 18 points per game. So that just shows that the defense, as we've saw, they have the number one scoring defense, worst offensive scoring team in the NFL. That's the first time since, 1946? When there were 10 teams playing in the NFL. That's the last time that has happened. Just shows you how bad it is.
I just looked up all the Broncos seasons. So in 1966, they scored 14 points per game exactly. I think that's the only team that they're in front of. And I was wondering, can you guess who the coach of that team was? There were two because one got fired.
No.
One's last name was Speedy. He was fired and Malavasi took over. The quarterbacks, the leading passer, his name was Chaboyan. The running back was Hayes. Receiver was Denson. I've never heard of any of these guys.
There's a reason.
What was Hayes?
Let's see. I'll click on profile. Wendell Hayes.
Nope, never heard of him.
Wendell.
No. I know, but I did 1966. I never heard of any of these guys.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's
14 exactly. They're 14.2 right now?
14.6.
Okay,
and,
14.6.
But if you take out the safety, it's probably like 14.5, 14.4.
But 14 points per game in 1966 is legitimately like at least 21 points per game now. Probably more.
Yeah, and that you took the historical route. The route that I took this morning was looking at just compared to the rest of the NFL. The average is 21.9 points per game being scored right now. The Broncos are over a touchdown under that. Typically, you're talking about if you're a field goal below that, well, that's going to cost you a couple of wins. That's brutal. You can't be at 18 points per game. That's why the Broncos made so many moves over the past few years is because they were right around 18, 19, 20 points per game, and it just wasn't good enough. No, the Broncos are a full touchdown worse than that. And this is hard to kind of put in perspective, but the second worst team is a full point better than the Broncos. Typically, you have teams that are like 0.2 points away, and in fact, that next worst group, there's a bunch of teams within, a couple tenths of a point of each other. Not the Broncos; they're a full point below.
And just to further dive into that point I made about 18 points, scoring 18 points per game. I did an experiment just to see what the rest of the AFC West would be if they scored 18 points a game, because I just wanted to make sure this isn't a skewed stat. The Raiders, if they were scoring exactly 18 points in every game, 0-9. The Chiefs, if they were scoring exactly 18 points in every game, 3-6. The Chargers, 2-7.
Yep.
So it's not like this is a skewed thing where scoring's down, 18 points is actually the new magic number. No. The Broncos defense is honestly historically good in terms of Denver Broncos defenses. And the offense is not just historically bad. It's the worst offense ever in Broncos history. And it's unfathomable. And I think the more that I think about it and the more that I try to point to whose fault this is, it has to be coaching. It just has to be. Because the personnel from last year didn't change that much. And in fact, you should be able to say the personnel got better. Now, we clearly haven't seen it with Russell Wilson. But for this team to be the worst offense in Broncos history, it has to be on coaching, because Russell Wilson is still the winningest quarterback through the first 10 seasons of any quarterback in NFL history. He's not this bad. He might be bad. And, we'll see if they can reclaim him. But he's not that bad. He's not bad enough to make them take a gigantic step backwards from Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock.
You better hope, Ryan. And the reason I say that is because who was Geno Smith in this offseason? Like, what did people view him as? I mean, he's been a backup, right? Yeah, he's been a backup. Now Pete Carroll, as much as we've dunked on him, and I think we were right for doing so in the moment, he's looking like a genius now because he took a backup in Geno Smith, and he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now. Just statistically, that's the way he's playing. Well, Russell Wilson was kind of borderline top 5 quarterback in the NFL, and now he looks like a backup. And in fact, if you look at all the stats, I think the only category where Russell Wilson is not in the bottom third is passing yards. Everything else, he is near backup. His completion percentage, 57.4% completion. You know where that ranks in the NFL? 32 starting quarterbacks.
31.
34. 34 backup status right there. Passing touchdowns, he's bottom 5. Interceptions, I guess that's where he also isn't in the bottom third. He's top 10 with only 5. Passing yards per game, which doesn't mean much. He's 12th. And then passer rating, he's 4th, right behind Davis Mills in passer rating. QBR, he is 3rd worst. In sacks, he has the 3rd most. So Ryan, I say all of that to say I hope you're right. I so hope you're right. No, obviously coaching is a huge factor into this, but I hope it's 90% coaching, 10% Russ and offensive line, everything like that, because I do think that there is a world where it's not that, and that's the worst place to be.
Yeah, there is a world for sure, but the more I look at it, I mean, you just illustrated the point though. If he was good with Pete Carroll and bad with Nathaniel Hackett, it's coaching, right? That's the thing that changed.
Or Pete Carroll is that good of a coach, because then you can do it with Russ and Hackett, but then you can also do it with Pete and Geno too.
For sure. And it would be on the Broncos to bring in a comparable coach to elevate the play of Russell Wilson, and maybe it is Sean Payton. Maybe you have to lure him, and you make that trade. It's obviously worth it if that was going to reclaim Russ.
Yeah,
if it was though, like there's a chance it doesn't.
For sure. And then George Payton's getting fired, but he's gonna end up probably getting fired over Russell Wilson being bad anyway at a certain point.
Yeah. And
unless he fixes him. And
that's a conversation that we need to have maybe at some point this week, is just, do we need to keep going up the ladder? Because we've had the debate, is it Russ? Is it coaching? We're having that right now. Well, go up even one more. Is it George Payton? And that's a conversation that the Waltons have to be having right now too.
Totally. And what I mean is, even if it's not this year, if Russell Wilson doesn't get better, the Broncos are only going to keep losing.
Yes.
And eventually everyone's getting fired.
Of course. Yep.
So it's a crazy place to be. And I guess that leads us decently into our next conversation. Should we do that now?
Yeah, let's have that conversation. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at Game Time, because over at Game Time, I bet you can find pretty cheap tickets to this Broncos game coming up against the Raiders, with the Broncos not doing well. Those tickets on Game Time just keep dropping. They've got flash sales going on as well. And I think this is like the outside of the Chiefs at home on Sunday Night Football, I think this is the most intriguing game left on the schedule, because it's the Raiders. That's always a fun game to be at. Both teams, it's the fight to be who's worst in the division. And also, we'll talk about this, I guarantee it, this week. This could be the last game for either Nathaniel Hackett or Josh McDaniels coaching their team. So you got the Josh McDaniels factor in there too. Wow. That would be incredible. That would be something else. I hope it doesn't happen for Nathaniel Hackett.
18
no, it'd have to be like 9-9 for this team. So check out the link in our description. If you're watching on YouTube, we've got that Game Time link right at the top. If you're watching on podcast, we've got that Game Time link right at the top as well. So make sure to click that. Check it out, because if you want to go to a Broncos game, let's say you don't get too many, this is a great time to go if you don't want to spend a lot of money.
Well, let me say this. Just wait. And wait. Because the tickets aren't as cheap as I expected them to be right now. But no one's buying these.
Yep.
So come to the tailgate, buy your tailgate tickets, because those will sell out, and then just come hang out at the tailgate until 15 minutes before the game. Then hop on there. You'll get in for $75.
And this will be a fun one. Like, it's the Raiders.
Yes.
Like the Broncos have hit the point where they're playing like
there's no more
college
fun.
football now, where it's like the games don't really matter. Like, if you watch a college football game right now, there's like 8 teams where it's like, yeah, this one actually matters. Like, it could decide something.
Right.
So it's just like, what's on the line? Oh, there's a chance to upset whoever. There's whoever. This is a rivalry game, which is like the last fun thing that the Broncos have this season. So it should be a good time.
All right.
Speaking of good times, how about us?
Speaking of good times, come down, check us out. We have a sick members-only event going on this Thursday at the DNVR bar. We have teamed up with Lacroix Hockey. That is Eric Lacroix, son of former Avs GM Pierre Lacroix, legend. And we are doing a fundraiser for his awesome foundation that he has founded a foundation. And that's all cool and good. What's even cooler is that Milan Hayduk, Adam Foote, some other former Avs are going to be hanging out here.
I'll be here too.
Yeah, Henry Chisholm,
Yep.
Wait, how do you say it? How do you say it in a Canadian way?
Henry Chisholm.
Henry
Oh,
Chisholm.
wow.
He'll be here. We're all gonna like watch an Avs game with Milan Hayduk, Adam Foote, Michel Goulet, like
Yeah.
It's too cool.
Me.
Henry
You?
Henry Chisholm. So that should be awesome. Come hang out with us then, or come hang out with us any other time. But remember, you got to be a member to get in on that, and you can go through our website, make sure you're logged in, and you can find the tickets, which are very cheap to come to that event.
They are.
But it
I'm
is
surprised.
raising funds for a good cause. They're also
Yep.
going to be like silent auction, which is always fun. So there you go.
And drink some liquid death. It's important this time of year to make sure you're drinking enough water, just because of the way it is outside. But it's the best water that you can find anywhere. They have the sparkling water. They have all the different flavors. They also just have the normal water that comes in a can. And I've said this before, but I think it was the last tailgate I was at. Like, I took a drink of the water. I was like, wow, I could just drink this all day. And it's like, yeah, it's water. Like, you should drink it all day. But it just tastes that good where you enjoy taking it. A weird concept that I never thought would happen. It's just the water was so good. Liquid Death, it'll murder your thirst. They've got the death-themed flavors. Awesome stuff.
What a selling point.
Yeah, I know. It's like,
Death-themed flavors.
They're good ones. It's like the
Severed
beheaded,
lime.
whatever. Yeah, severed lime, all sorts of good stuff. Go get Liquid Death at your local Safeway, 7-Eleven, King Soopers, Stinkers, or Alta, or find a Alta. I was thinking Ulta. Ult. Is that the
Ulta, yeah, that's the
That's a
women's
beauty
makeup
store. I
store.
know.
Yeah.
I got those confused for a second. I was like, wait, what? Or find a Liquid Death retailer near you with their store locator tool at liquiddeath.com/DNVR. That's liquiddeath.com/DNVR.
Epic comment from Shima86, who says, Raiders fan here. I hope we lose so we can fire this joke McDaniels.
I mean, someone in the comments earlier said, is it worse to be a Broncos fan or a Raiders fan right now? It has to be the Raiders.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like dunked on the Raiders last night, and a bunch of people are like, we don't have any room. I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to.
Yeah.
At least the Broncos had the benefit of mystery on their side when they hired Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah.
The Raiders hired someone who we already knew sucked.
Well, it's
Yep.
not like you're dunking on the Chiefs right now, because then you really would have no ground to stand on. You're dunking on a team that is worse than the Broncos right
Yep.
now.
Yeah, I don't even need ground to stand on. It's just fun.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say about the Raiders is that things could turn around a lot faster for them than the Broncos. Like the Broncos, like the hole they're in, it feels like, it's Russell Wilson. Like
They also don't have
you've
Darren
got
Waller
years.
or Hunter Renfro.
for now. But I mean, it's not turning around this season.
Yeah.
But like next year, it could just.
Ooh, that's a
turn
good
around.
conversation.
I
to
did have
Yeah.
some Raiders fan respond to my viral tweet saying like, yeah, well, if the Raiders only allowed 18 points, they would be 8-1. And I'm like, that would make them like a top 5 defense in the NFL. The Broncos would still be a bottom 5 offense in the NFL at 18 points per game.
Yes.
You're not asking for anything crazy, whereas the Raiders fan is asking for something crazy.
You're
checked-
literally asking the Broncos to have a shitty offense rather than a historically awful offense.
Right.
There
By
are
the
teams
way,
out there that have scored 18 in every game too. There are at least a couple.
What do you mean?
Oh, like more than 18.
No, like they've put up 18 in every single game. Like the Eagles
18
have
or more.
in every game. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, not
Yeah,
at 18
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, like the Eagles have, the Ravens have. There's a few who have just like
I mean, that's
every
an
single
easy,
game.
That's an easy bar to get to.
Okay. So what is the bar that Nathaniel Hackett needs to get to be coaching next year? And
really quick, though.
Yes, please.
We got some news coming in right now
no.
Is it bad
from
news or good news?
Ian
Jerry.
Rappaport. It is good news.
I knew it. I could tell from your cadence.
Yep. Ian Rappaport said, following his MRI, Broncos get good news on wide receiver Jerry Jeudy. It's a mild ankle injury. Sources say his status for this week has not yet been determined, but they received promising results.
Good.
That's as good as it could be.
Did Rapp confirm that with Dr. David Chow?
I don't think he did. He actually went to the MRI to confirm that,
okay,
not
all right.
just the video.
All right. Well, great news. So what's the timetable?
Potentially this week. He's back this week.
Wow.
Wow.
I know it comes to your head
Yeah,
right now.
I'm not even gonna say it. I'm not gonna say
The
it.
thing is, though, it's like
He won't be at practice on Wednesday, I bet, though.
Won't be.
My guess is he won't be at practice.
I bet you he is.
it's a. I don't know why they had to throw mild in there because that is what makes it look bad. It's a weird thing though, where it's like it's whatever they say, a strained muscle or something in the back of his ankle.
Yeah.
Probably something you haven't felt before.
Exactly, and it's right next to your Achilles.
Yep.
And so I understand how that could be terrifying, especially if it really hurts.
Also, like spraining your ankle hurts a lot.
It does.
Like
Yeah.
I remember the first time I got like a severe ankle sprain, I thought I broke my leg. Like I thought
Yeah.
I broke my ankle.
No, there was one bad one I had in college. I had friends who lived up the hill from us, and there was one night late where I was running down the hill and just fell off the sidewalk, and all of a sudden, just like a big balloon on my ankle.
Yeah.
Boy, did that feel dumb.
If you were an athlete, they would say that like it was a freak injury.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, oh yeah, I was just like walking down the stairs, and all of a sudden the cat ran under my leg or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. We've heard some
Yep.
of those before.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
It was Brian Greasy or Jake Plummer who got ran. I think it was Greasy
it
who
was
got
Greasy.
ran over by his dog. He said, I was going up the stairs, my dog was running down the stairs, clipped my leg. Also, anyone who's ever had a dog knows the dog never goes the opposite way of you down on the stairs.
Right.
They always are following
They're
you.
following.
Always.
Yep. You're
Always.
right.
Ooh, Tebow though, so big, she sometimes couldn't stop. So if you stopped on the stairs, she'd committed to going down. There were a couple close calls
You
there.
could just buckle
I mean,
down.
and last week we had a very honest player come out and say that he actually got hurt on an ATV accident in Mexico. It's like, wow, you took the honest approach. That's
terrible
impressive.
idea. Just lie. Just lie. Okay.
One more quick injury news.
Yes, please.
I guess it's not really news. Russell Wilson posted, I'm going to miss you, to Billy Turner on his Instagram today.
Yeah.
Really seems like that's a significant injury. Season ending, potentially, but that seems like he's going to be out for quite some time.
I
And
will
when
say-
you see the injury,
Nice scoop from Broncos insider Russell Wilson.
yeah,
Yes,
seriously.
yes. At the same time, though, with how badly that offensive line is playing and how terrified Russell was every time he got the ball, he could really miss him just for 1 week or like for one quarter. He could be that upset that he's going to miss Billy Turner.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I see where you're coming,
1 year
but
deal for Billy?
1 year deal for Billy.
was
But
nice
also,
knowing you.
this is just
Again.
the facts. Billy Turner, he takes a while to come back from an injury. We saw that
He
this
sure does.
offseason. So I would expect that Russ is pointing to a long-term injury.
Yep, and that'll be the end of Billy Turner as a Bronco.
And that sucks for the future of what we're about to talk about with Nathaniel Hackett. Just not having Billy Turner the rest of the season, potentially.
Yeah, unless, I mean, I guess the Broncos could talk themselves into, okay, well, we can get him even cheaper on a 1 year deal next year.
If Nathaniel Hackett's back, maybe.
Yeah,
But
well.
where it's looking, Nathaniel Hackett brought Billy Turner here.
Yeah, but it's the holes conversation, right?
Yep.
Yep, it's true.
It's one of those weird things, though, where like it's easy to say, well, they've had the same thing happen for 7 years. Where they just try to plug it with some. At some point, they have to just get somebody good and fix the problem, right?
They don't have to. Henry.
Exactly. Just like inside linebacker, you say, well, now feels like it's the time to do it. Maybe that's just the strategy.
They haven't drafted a single tackle since Garrett Bowles.
Mind-blowing
Yeah.
with how many issues they've had.
Not in any round.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nope. It's wild.
Yeah, it's really wild. And someone tweeted this out, like a national person, and I can't even disagree with it. They said, at this point, wherever the Broncos pick, they can literally just pick best offensive player on the board at any position.
Wow.
Yes.
Potentially.
There is no player on the offense, save for Javonte Williams, and even he is still it's still a question mark with him, that you can't say that position needs to be upgraded.
Yeah. No, I was looking at some draft boards, and man, if you get a nice tight end fall to you, could you imagine Dulcich and a great tight end, that may be the one that you actually stay away from the most because of the way Greg's playing. I had a Seahawks fan in my DMs today just telling me how bad it was with Russ. I'm like, well, great, thanks for this. And then he said, I have some advice for you. Draft a quarterback as high as you can in the first round next year. And I'm like, man, it's probably not going to be that.
You know,
when's Arch eligible?
The next
Is it 26?
Let's see. So
No,
he's freshman.
So
next
year's a
year,
freshman.
so he has 3 years after this.
Yeah, so 23, 24, 25.
Lines
so it
up
is a
perfectly
26
for
season.
when the Broncos
Yeah,
can
it
get away
is.
from
It's
Russ.
possible. It's possible. I think the best case for drafting a quarterback in the first round is that it does like the Jordan Love thing, where it just like pisses the real guy off, and you're just like, maybe it lights a fire under Russ that you do that.
Oh,
It'd be a little bit toxic, but
would be
toxic.
toxic.
Toxic would be a step forward at this point.
That's
Worth
true.
a try.
That's,
Toxic is worth a try.
Aaron Rodgers has won MVP every year since they drafted Jordan Love. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yep. Not looking good this
This
year,
is his
although
third
last
year?
night he did. Yeah, it is. Now, you would have to do that with a new general manager. You wouldn't do that with George Payton. But a new general manager could come in and say, yeah, that contract isn't mine.
All right, let's get to the conversation that we put in the headline. What does Nathaniel Hackett have to do, or is there anything he can do to keep his job? And I think the answer to is there anything is obviously yes.
Correct.
You can't say no, because that would mean if the Broncos went undefeated from here on out
They
and
could
won
win
the Super
Bowl,
Bowl,
technically.
yeah, like then you'd still be fine. So you can't say there's nothing he can do.
Yep.
I would say that in terms of what we've seen, I can't envision a path to the Broncos playing the type of football they would have to play for Nathaniel Hackett to keep his job. Because now I think style points matter for him. If the Broncos win several games 13-10, I think he's still getting fired. Because they're just going to say, like, okay, well, we aren't Super Bowl caliber until we have a real offense. We can't change the quarterback, so we have to change the coaching staff.
Yeah, and Ryan, I think wins to a degree buy him time through the rest of this season, regardless of how it looks. So 13-10, he's not getting fired next week. They win 14-13 the following week. That's the Panthers. He's not getting fired. But if it is winning like that, then it does not look good for him after this season. And of course, unless the Broncos get to like 10 wins. But realistically, it comes down to Russell Wilson, number one, in which we talked about yesterday. And then number two, how the offense then looks with Russell Wilson. Like I said, I ran through the stats of Russ. You want to get Russ to be an average quarterback by the end of the season. So that means he's probably playing, well, I guess from right now till the end of the season, if Russ is ranked 15 to 12 in pretty much every category, that's a huge improvement for Nathaniel Hackett. That'll do wonders, and then the points per game will reflect that. And I think if from now until the end of the season, the Broncos offense is average, so 22 points per game, Nathaniel Hackett has a chance. And with the way the defense is playing, the wins will probably follow. And like we said in the roundtable, you guys said 7 wins.
Yeah.
I said 8. They'll probably get to that point. And then you're saying, okay, it was a bottom, terrible offense to start, but then they jumped to be average. That's a huge jump in the final half of the season. Saying that, though, that's 8 more points per game. That's tough.
And let me just add this, and I know everyone, not everyone, several people in the comments have been wanting us to talk about this, and it's the offensive line. And it's only getting worse for that group. So I don't see the path to the offense getting better when you have a third string at left, a third string at center, and a third string at right. That's not even a real NFL offensive line.
No.
So I don't see how they can score 22 points a game behind those guys because they can't pass the ball right now, and they're not going to be able to run the ball with those guys especially.
100%. And that's why you got to get Russ playing the way that Russ has succeeded the last few years. And so yesterday we probably saw Russ run around more in the pocket, I should say behind the line of scrimmage, than we have all season, but it was the wrong type of running. It was like he was just so freaked out. He was seeing ghosts out there. At one point he thought he was going to get sacked, just slammed his head down into the back of an offensive lineman, and then he's like, oh, wait, I'm actually not getting sacked. And then he runs it. That's the wrong type of running, but you need to get him playing his game.
I said before, I'm only through half of the second quarter. There've already been 2 plays where it's like, oh, there's a blitzer, and it looks like he's going to get there. But then, Chase Edmonds just picked one up. There was another one where it's like, I think Reisner kind of got beat off the snap but recovered. Both of them, like one, he turns around and tries to run the other way and steps back up and gets sacked by 2 guys. There's another one where he just takes a couple steps and throws it away. He's just jumpy. There's another one where he just fires a ball to Cortland Sutton, who's standing on the line of scrimmage on a 2nd and 12 and sets up a 3rd and 10 when there's plenty of time. There's just so many things going wrong. There's another one. We talked about the offensive line struggling, but there's also, and it was like the 3rd drive of the game where the Titans send just a wave of guys off the line of scrimmage on a 3rd down, and one just comes free. Well, that's because nobody blocked him. There's a double team on the left side of the line where there was no chance there could be a blitzer because there were 3 DBs covering 3 receivers. You know exactly who is coming, who's going, but they still don't figure that stuff out. So, and the lack of protection, Russ not knowing how to fix it, Russ just panicking every play. It's just ugly.
It kind of goes to why I said they need a veteran center.
Yeah.
And you need a better offensive line coach, just bar none. So I don't know like what Mike Munchak is doing if he wants to come back, but you need a massive improvement there. And I really do think you need a veteran center who can help set things up. Because Russ, I mean, maybe we just took that for granted. I just expected 10-year NFL vet who's been to Super Bowls could set protection.
I was going to say that's maybe what, I mean, not the most disappointing thing. One of the most disappointing things is that's exactly what you thought you were getting with him.
Yep.
And he just doesn't do it.
No.
Like, you go back and watch these games, you never see him go up to the line, point out the mic, set the protection, make sure they're sliding the right way. Kind of just maddens it. Just goes out there and presses A and starts the play and hopes that his first read is there.
He Zach Maddens it. I don't know if you Maddens
Yeah, I was going to say, identifying the mic,
I don't know.
audibly, hot routing.
I 1-game win streak right now.
Let's go.
So I answered. I think he needs to be 22 points per game the rest of the way and get Russ to an average. What do you guys think? What's he have to do?
I think you have to have multiple games over 24 points. Over.
Whoa.
24 isn't good enough.
That's tough.
You got to beat the Chiefs in one of those 2 games. Because at least that's like, we talk about it with college, like a signature win.
Yep.
Russell Wilson has to look like a real quarterback. And that means like 60% completions.
That's the floor.
Like over 240 yards in multiple games. Like at least one game that's like 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Yeah. Just things that normal quarterbacks do.
Yeah.
And you have to win more than you lose.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. And there's 8 games left.
Yep.
So 5-3 down the stretch, and that would get the Broncos to exactly 8 wins. And really quick, in the last 4 games, Russell Wilson's touchdown to interception ratio, 3 touchdowns in the last 4 games, 4 interceptions.
Yeah. I mean, one of them is just that prayer on the last play, although can't even excuse that one because Cortland Sutton's wide open and he airmails him by like 20 feet.
Yep.
I mean, to me, I said last week, I think 7 wins is enough to stay. And I mean, I thought that would be kind of like the 50-50 point, but they decide to keep him. Now, though, I mean, I think if you win more than you lose the rest of the way, maybe that's where it's 50-50. That's where your 8 and 9 and style points kind of matter. You have to have, like you said, a couple games over 24 points. If you go 6-2, then he's definitely back. But yeah, I'd say 50-50 depending on the style points if he wins 8 games. And again, that's a serious uphill battle.
Someone in the comments said they were telling us McDaniel or O'Connell. No, that was us. We were saying that. I said McDaniel, you said O'Connell.
Yep. Exactly.
Anyways. It's uphill battle, I think, is putting it extremely lightly.
Yep.
It'll almost be like a statistical anomaly if he does enough to keep his job.
Yeah, and we look at Josh McDaniels and say, it's just only a matter of if, not when, right? Win, not if.
Yeah.
And that's probably what the Raiders are saying as well. It's so bad out there in Denver that it's only a matter of when, not if.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I feel. I think it's coming down. It's coming down the pike. I think the Broncos are just wasting time by not making some sort of move. It kind of looks silly to me that you currently have the worst offense in your team's history in 2022, and you haven't done anything to change it. And we're now 10 weeks into the season.
It's about self-preservation, and if George Payton makes that call, he is admitting and not giving himself any shot of kind of redeeming one of the two biggest moves that he made in Nathaniel Hackett. So that would be, I mean, he's kind of sucking life out of himself if he does it soon. Now, also,
it doesn't have to do anything for us to know what it looks like.
Yeah, but there's a bunch of self-preservation in the NFL.
Fair enough. It's not working. Might think it's working, but it's not working.
That's
it only keeps looking worse.
Yep. But do you really think anything would get better if they fired Hackett? See, that's the thing.
I think that is, I mean, look at Jeff Saturday and the Colts put up 25 points this week to beat the Raiders.
Did you guys see how fast Matt Ryan was running?
He was hauling.
That was actually, I'm not a Matt Ryan fan. I think he's overrated. But that, I was like, damn, Matt, that's the coolest thing you've ever done in my mind.
What's crazy is that the Colts weren't actually that bad when they benched Matt Ryan.
No.
And they benched him for what I said was the worst quarterback I've ever seen play by choice in the NFL.
So you're not surprised that when Jeff Saturday came in, he benched
Yeah,
that guy.
I didn't even really think of it because they just made that announcement for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And then Jeff Saturday came in and was like, you idiots.
Well,
What were
and then
you
he
thinking?
came in his opening press conference and said, yep, Sam's going to remain the starter, which I love the gamesmanship.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Anyways, there is something to be said for you just fire someone and it makes a difference.
The coaching head or the fired head coach boost.
Yes.
It's real.
Yeah.
I mean,
For
even
a
the
game.
Panthers
For a
won
game.
theirs.
For a game.
won a game.
Yep.
But I don't know. The thing is, it's not like the players hate Nathaniel Hackett. I really don't think they do. I think they might roll their eyes at some of the decisions and things he does now. And we talked about this when Nathaniel Hackett first got here. We said, hey, we think it's going to go right, but if it goes wrong, his personality is a weird one for a bad team.
Yeah, it is.
And here we are. So I'm sure they roll their eyes at him a lot. But they're not they wouldn't be celebrating if he got fired.
No. I agree.
I think they would be looking in the mirror like, damn, how did we screw this up so bad?
100%. I think that's exactly what it would be like.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be really, really difficult for him to do anything to keep his job. And I don't think that firing him necessarily is going to fix things miraculously this year. But at least it shows the organization is saying, okay, we have to do something because this is embarrassing and it's a bad look for everyone.
Well, and we're going to have the conversation about, could this be Josh McDaniels or Nathaniel Hackett's last game coming up this week? And ownership may step in front of George Payton and say, we can't do this because of the number of no-shows that we could see at this game.
Man, against the Raiders too.
Yep.
And yeah, it's crazy. The Raiders are so bad, but I don't I don't look at them the same way I looked at the Colts when they played.
Right.
I was like, wow, this team is just so beatable. But something about Derek Carr is competent.
Yep.
Josh Jacobs, don't clip this, owns the Broncos.
Clip it.
They still have Devontae Adams.
Yep.
It doesn't feel easy by any stretch of the mind. So there's a world where there's 50,000 people in the seats and the Broncos lose to the Raiders and Josh McDaniels give him 66% of his wins this season. And, that could be enough.
Yep, and
Totally.
Josh McDaniels does exactly what he did after he beat the Patriots in Denver on the same field, in the same stadium, and just goes crazy after the game,
pumping.
after a win. Yeah, so that could happen. And you can get odds on a lot of this stuff over at DraftKings Sportsbook. If you bet $5 on any NBA money line and that wins, you get $200 in your account in free bets on top of the winnings that you made from that. And there's so much to bet on right now. You have Avs, you have Nuggets, you have World Cup coming up. You also have the Denver Broncos to bet on. And man, what a time to be following the Broncos in the NFL. Big game tonight too. Another division game. You got the Eagles hosting the Washington football team. Eagles.
Commanders.
The Commanders. Eagles 11-point favorite. Who do you guys
Go
like?
Birds.
I mean, yeah, I'm going Birds.
Oh wow.
Why not?
Okay, smart. You're playing it smart.
I mean, they're
Spicy.
obviously going to win the game.
Yeah.
The spread is just...
Knock on wood.
No, they'll win. They're
Heineke's
definitely
spicy.
gonna win. Heineke is spicy. Yes, he certainly is. Spicy. So head to the App Store now. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code DNVR when you sign up to get this offer. That's promo code DNVR. Make sure to see show notes for details. And guys, speaking of DraftKings, let's get into our DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week because, once again, I think DraftKings is handing out, I don't want to say free money because the last time I said that, I was so off on the Jets Broncos over-under like 5 years ago. Yep. But it's as close to that as possible. They set the over-under this week on the Broncos Raiders. 41.5. Now, the Broncos have only hit the over once, and it did come against the Raiders. Yeah. But this Broncos defense they know how to shut.
Also, the Broncos didn't hit the over, the Raiders hit the over.
Exactly. The Broncos know how to shut down a running back now. We saw it yesterday. They should use a similar strategy for Josh Jacobs because, like you said, Ryan, he owns them, but take the under. I thought we were going to see signs of hope from the offense after the Jags game. I thought we were going to see it yesterday. Now that we didn't, I have no hope for the Broncos offense, and I think that the Broncos defense does well enough. 41.5? The Broncos games, you know what the Broncos are averaging right now in their games? This is insane. Like, not just the Broncos, but
30 points.
28.5.
Oh, my God.
28.5. So you're getting almost 2 touchdowns on top of that. Give me the under.
I thought they were averaging 14 and giving up 16.
Okay, you're right. Yeah, then it would be right about 30.
Either way, they've never set an NFL over-under at 29.5, I don't think.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah. What's next, Henry?
Give me the Broncos minus 140 on the money line. Are we doing DraftKings pick of the week or after?
Absolutely. Yeah,
okay.
Right now.
Yeah. Minus 140 on the money line.
Wow.
It's
You've got some confidence.
The Raiders are terrible. Like, the Broncos just make a bunch of dumb mistakes, which also, like, it balances out to being bad, but not quite Raiders bad. That defense is awful. Like, you wonder why that line is set so high? Because the Raiders can't stop anybody. Like, the Buffs would score. Like, if they played a 60-minute game, the Buffs might find a way to get a field goal in there.
False.
I don't know. Like, that they just don't even have legitimate players anymore. Like, they invested in Chandler Jones and got nothing.
Yeah.
Like,
they cut Jonathan Abrams.
Yes, they have nothing. Give me the Broncos to figure this out. Josh McDaniels, I don't know. Now I start to think, does Josh McDaniels get revenge? No, he doesn't. He doesn't. It's just like the Colts. He goes on this back-to-back Josh McDaniels anti-revenge tour, and then he's done. So there we go. Minus 140.
All right. So it's not up right now, so I can't give you the value. The next time the Nuggets play, take the over on Nikola Jokic assists and take the over on MPJ threes. That is my pick of the week.
2 for 2 last night, right?
Yep, and it's just Jokic is having so much fun passing the ball right now that if the Bulls were just like respectable enough to keep it a game last night, he was going to get 20 assists.
Yep.
And unfortunately, they weren't able to do that. And also, MPJ was going to maybe score 40. So those two are both doing what they do really at a really high rate right now. So I'll give you a double pick of the week.
There we go. I love it right there. What else do we have?
Sports fan. If you're coming out to the tailgate on Saturday, make sure you stop in there. They've got a bunch of cool stuff. It's all stuff that you can't find from the team store, you can't find online, which is why it's worth swinging in. They've got 4 different locations. There's 2 on the 16th Street Mall, 1 down at the Park Meadows Mall in Highlands Ranch, and then there's 1 at the tailgate on Federal just outside the Broncos Stadium. Like I said, it's all stuff you can't find other places. I just remembered the Kobe Bryant Rockies jersey. They've got all sorts of different stuff.
That's not a real thing that they had.
Well, I mean, it kind of is.
No, it was a Chris Bryant.
I don't know. You got the 24.
23.
23. But Kobe was 24.
I know.
Right. So
wow, that makes it even worse.
Yeah,
that makes it even worse. Yeah, great stuff. Definitely swing in there. Local business. We love supporting those. It has Broncos gear.
There you go.
It does. Speaking of 23, man, Christian McCaffrey somehow getting 23 is like the perfect number for him.
Yes, it does. It didn't look right at first. Now it actually does look right. All right, I got to bounce, guys. I had a heart out here, so I'm going to let you guys handle the comments. Shout out to everyone who tuned in with us today and yesterday. Appreciate you guys.
There we go. Thank you, Ryan and Henry. Let's hop into the comment section. We got super chat, but let's just jump into the comment section first here. First one from Ozzy Punter says, "Hey guys, this is getting rough. For the first time as a Broncos fan, I switched over the Broncos game to watch Red Zone instead. I had just got up at 5 a.m. on a Monday morning in Sydney, and by halftime, my son and I agreed to switch over to Red Zone. This was a crappy game. Don't worry though. When something good happens, it will flash up on Red Zone. After 40 minutes, it dawned on me that they did not cross over once to the Broncos game in the second half. Without watching the game, I knew it was happening. My question for today is there anything at all that happened in the preseason that you could now point to that you think was a warning sign of what has now transpired this season? Anything? Or is this just football? Anyway, I might watch Red Zone guys for a while. If the Broncos make the cut, I'm sure I'll be able to keep up.
I mean, the big thing that stands out is that they didn't play the starters. That's one that, I don't know. We'll see what they do next year. We'll see if it's even the same staff. I don't know. It's football. Like, sometimes you just need to go play football. Sometimes you need to be tough. Sometimes you don't need to go inside because it's 35 degrees outside.
Ooh.
You got to tackle in practice. Like, it is football. This isn't a basketball team. You got to kind of lean into the physicality. And I'm not sure that a lack of physicality has really been the problem. Maybe with the offensive line not getting any push, you could point to that. Maybe the lack of any sort of running game could point to that. But just, I mean, the way that you come out of a losing streak like this is being gritty and physical and just bullying over guys, just saying you're not going to lose, and they don't seem to have that in them, at least offensively.
Yeah, and to me, Henry, it plays off of that. It's when pretty much every former player in the Denver media or the national media question what Nathaniel Hackett was doing with the way he handled training camp by taking it so easy, not playing guys in the preseason. That's when I thought, I see Nathaniel Hackett's reasoning, but if all of these former players are saying, what the heck is he doing? It did make me question it, but I wanted to give Nathaniel Hackett the benefit of the doubt, because at that point, I was on his side of, hey, go into the season 100% healthy, but now we see that even if you do that, it doesn't matter. You're going to get Justin Simmons hurt. Not you're going to get Justice, but a star player is going to get hurt week 1, another one's going to go down week 2, week 3. But clearly, it wasn't just the way he handled preseason and training camp. Let's say the Broncos play in preseason and training camp. The Broncos may have one more win. I don't know, but it's not like they're a 6-3 team instead of a 3-6 team.
Yeah, who knows?
Next one from Orange is the New Sack says, this season has been nothing short of shocking. A lot of firsts, but some of the firsts for me have been how little emotion I've been feeling for these games. When Russell's pass got picked off on the final 4th down, I just said, oh well, and watch the Bills game. If this was 3 years ago, I would have lost my mind. I just feel numb watching these games and this offense. I'm still a Broncos fan and always cheer for the team, but it's very difficult to watch these games. I hope Russ figures this game out and finds himself again soon for my sanity's sake.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, must have been 2 years ago, the Buffs soccer team had a game. It was on a Sunday. I think maybe I don't think it was the Florida State game. I think it was a Stanford game. So Stanford's like number 1 in the country always. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go up there, watch a soccer game. It was a Chargers game that I missed. And it was one of those where it's just like the same thing that happened for 5 years. I think that was the first Bronco game I missed since I was like 5 or something. And I listened to it on the radio for a couple minutes and I was like, no, this is fine. I don't need it. Actually,
really I
get it. Exactly. I get it.
And I told you guys right after the Chargers game, man, that one was a kick in the nuts this year on Monday night, because to me, I thought that was the game that if the Broncos lost, the season was over. You guys kind of had one more game out, but the past few games when they've lost, it's just been like, okay, kind of
here it is.
What we expected. Yep, here it is. They find a new crazy way, terrible, gut-wrenching way to lose. The only issue is it's not gut-wrenching anymore. And I think there's a lot of people on Twitter saying apathy has been thrown around the past 12 hours, and that's a bummer.
But it's just what happens when you're at this point. Like, how can you not be apathetic when the games don't matter?
Right.
Like,
especially
and that's the
when
point you're
you
at.
had hope.
Yes.
And then it was ripped away.
Yep. You had hope up until this week, but now you've got another almost 2 months of just watching them play for almost no reason.
Man.
Except, Nathaniel Hackett trying to save his job. I guess
he's
got a reason.
There's certainly storylines.
There's stuff like that.
Broncos Only says, man, I'm embarrassed to be a Broncos fan. Back in August, a friend of mine suffered a family tragedy. To give him something to look forward to, I invited him and his sons to the Broncos game on November 20th against the Raiders, and now look at what a pathetic shambles we are.
Yep.
Well, that's such a bummer, but Broncos Only, it's going to a game, especially if you don't get to go to them, is still going to be a very cool experience.
Especially that one.
And like I said, like, this is probably the second best remaining home game left to go to. So I hope you guys have fun, and that's very nice that you're doing that for your friend.
I saw somebody before saying boycott the games. That's not doing anything. That's not doing anything at all.
Ooh, I don't know.
It's
Henry,
not doing anything.
There's 15, 20,000 no-shows. that may be enough just to fire Hackett before the game starts. Now, I'm a little exaggerating a little there, but if they lose in whatever fashion and there's 20,000 no-shows, I don't know how the ownership keeps him around.
I just don't see a world in which anything really changes when, like, you don't... January 15th, whatever, I think you're in the same place whether the fans boycott the games or not, with the only difference being whether the fan base gets labeled as fair weather and not really caring if the team is bad.
Man, and we're just going to have to agree to disagree on that because I think firing Hackett would fire up the fan base a little bit so it wouldn't be so embarrassing. And Carl in the comment section says, do not show up to the game.
Like, it's like the Rockies, I get it. Like, the Rockies you boycott because they're not trying to win. Like, there's just no reason to think that the Broncos aren't doing what's best for the team or doing their best to. You know, they're still going to fire anybody who needs to be fired, go hire, like, it doesn't really, like, the message it sends is that people are upset, and I'm pretty sure they've gotten that message. I think that one's been loud and clear.
So I think the difference is if you're boycotting the Rockies, you're doing it in protest of the ownership.
Yeah.
If you're boycotting the Broncos, you're trying to show the ownership how frustrated you are. But it is a good point.
They know.
They probably do know.
Yeah.
But this one would be a very visual way of doing it.
Yeah. Again, it's like a fan base putting paper bags over their head. It's more embarrassing for the fans than anybody if you don't show up.
That is true, especially against the Raiders, where then Raiders fans are watching it and they're saying, "Well, you guys have fair weather fans. You don't have fans that show up. You don't have fans that care."
Exactly. The Broncos Raiders being like a great rivalry. No, it's not. The fans don't even show up.
Yeah. There's your point.
Yes,
is making the fan base look really bad compared to the rest of everyone.
Exactly.
We have a visitor. Wow!
Oh boy.
Look who you leave the pod for 5 minutes and you just can't stay away. Welcome back, Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening on my way out and I was like, "This is terrible without me."
Wow.
Wow.
So yeah, I thought I had a haircut, and it must have just gotten moved.
Oh wow!
Where
without
was
your
haircut?
Like right down the street.
So you went down the street and back?
But yeah, I did.
How was it?
It was terrible because I got there and it was like I looked at my thing and it said it was Tuesday, but I specifically scheduled it Monday because we're going up to Boulder to do an interview with Mike Sanford. So I was like,
no.
I'm out of breath. It's like I want to get a haircut before that.
Yeah.
So sometimes like my barber will just like, if he has something going on or whatever, can't make it, and he'll just like cancel it and it'll automatically rebook you.
Oh.
But I think I just didn't see
That's
the email.
terrible.
So when's it rebooked to?
Tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Same time.
Okay, there we go. Well, welcome back. Happy to have you.
Great to be back.
Next comment coming in from PS2 says Hackett has to go. His play design seems like it only has deep balls and one check down 95% of the time. I'm not sure he realizes he can use slants and short routes for receivers. No one on this coaching staff seems to make in-game adjustments. This was Evero's worst game call of a defense so far. He started the game blitzing a lot, but Tannehill adjusted to the blitz. After that, every time we blitzed, they got a first down. With Josh McDaniels and Hackett on the hot seat, there's a good chance they could get fired tomorrow. That didn't happen. I know it's very unlikely, but it would be cool to be the first game where both coaches are interim head coaches.
Probably wouldn't be the first.
Oh, man.
You gotta be close to it.
Where both teams have interim. Yeah, I can't remember. I mean, last time the Broncos faced an interim head coach was against the Raiders last year and was embarrassing.
Yep, they got smoked.
They did. Rich Bisaccia. Briz Baby says, "Hey guys, damn, I've never seen the comments so depressing, but honestly, I can't blame my fellow listeners for feeling this way. I think I've finally reached it. Full-blown apathy. I go into Broncos games with no expectations and feel indifferent when we lose. My question is, how much is Hackett to blame for our offensive line shambles? It was pretty clear that terrible offensive line play was the most to blame for such a terrible performance on offense. But what more can Hackett do with third stringers? Well, the only thing I can say now is praise to the football gods. You have put DNVR in my life. You guys are such an amazing source of positivity in these dark, dark, dark days. And honestly, the only thing I look forward to now is a Broncos fan. Thank you for keeping our spirits high when the Broncos can't. Cheers for everything you do, Briz Baby. That means a ton, Briz Baby. Thank you so much.
Again, of course you're apathetic. The games don't matter. Like, how could you not be apathetic at this point? Because they literally do not mean anything.
Yep. It actually is a great endorsement for relegation because, you know, like I said, I just, got into Leeds, and every game is so important for them.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter every
Yeah.
match, I should say.
Yeah.
Yes, you should.
So, like, when they lost the other day, I was devastated. And then, you know, in the Broncos lost, I didn't feel nearly as much.
Right? Yeah. And I mean, man, could you imagine it'd be like the Raiders, Broncos, and Texans fighting for relegation in the AFC right now?
Oh, God. It would be so bad. It could never happen just because of the way that these teams are structured and all the money that goes into them and all this stuff. But
you'd have like 32 teams in the second league. They would all suck. Like no quarterbacks anywhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work in the NFL. It is cool over there though.
it is cool.
It is. It's a
Like
really cool
NBA
concept.
maybe could work, but I still don't think so.
I don't think so. Just with like all the TV contracts.
Yeah.
and there's so much money involved that everyone would push back on it.
Maybe
than
baseball. Because they at least have like the money thing, like
Right.
British soccer, where there's just so much imbalance.
Man, that would probably just kill the lower teams, though.
Yeah. But maybe they'd be getting what they deserve. They keep up the Rockets.
Wow.
Like the AAA teams all of a sudden, like they aren't relegated, or they would be like a lower league. Like you could kind of move between the leagues. The whole farm system would have to change. But
Right. The
it's not
farm
like
system
that's
would be incorporated
exactly.
into
It just wouldn't be farm system sucks right now. It's not fun anyway.
By the way, to all the people who say like, you guys are the only thing who keep me going when these times get dark, it's if it weren't for people like you, we wouldn't be here because
Right.
you know the people would have just tuned out of the Broncos like 4 years ago.
Yep.
And you know we probably wouldn't even have a podcast. I mean,
very
we probably
true.
would, but. So thank you guys. You guys actually make this great for us.
And we've said it for way too many years in a row now. But when the Broncos are actually good, oh, I can't imagine how much fun we're gonna have because we have fun even when they're bad.
How did we think they were going to be good this year and they got worse?
I don't know. I still can't wrap my mind around it.
Like I was thinking about this. The person who hated Russell Wilson the most in the Seahawks organization could not have predicted this.
I agree.
There's no way anyone said, "Oh yeah, the Broncos are going to have the worst offense in the NFL with Russell Wilson next year."
Yep.
Yeah. Everything we thought was wrong. Remember, we were saying that the Broncos have better weapons than the Seahawks. Like
Yep.
unanimously.
Yep.
We thought it was silly that somebody would say something else. And now you look and it's like, they aren't close.
Well, they
DK
don't-
Metcalf would be the best receiver by a mile. Tyler Lockett would be the best receiver by a mile. Like, Rashad Penny is behind Javonte, but again, like maybe discounted him. They have Kenneth Walker there too.
Yeah. I mean, things started to unravel on that front when Tim went down,
True.
but none of the people that we expected to elevate their games did.
I've got just a side note. Good news. Do you guys think Josh McDaniels staying the Raiders head coach is good news or bad news for the Broncos?
It doesn't matter.
Good news. Good news. You don't want to get the new coach game.
Okay, well then here you go. Mark Davis on Josh McDaniels. I think he's doing a fantastic job.
Oh, great.
That's the best news.
Yeah,
That guy doesn't
right.
know what he's talking about.
Yep.
All right, I believe the next one is Mile High Till I Die.
Yep.
Guys, I'm really sick of people talking about Sean Payton coming to Denver. I'm in no way interested in a head coach who was involved in the Saints headhunting scandal. Why does
Yeah.
no one ever bring this up? I know it's been a long time, but that kind of behavior is calculated and shows such a lack of integrity. I don't care that he wasn't in charge of the bounty program. He knew about it and covered it up. It would be a shame on this organization to hire a man with such low moral compass to lead his team, much less trade a first-round draft pick for him. No.
No,
Like-
I totally see where he's coming from.
Yep.
I guess what I was trying to get at is every football coach has these types of skeletons.
Some are worse than others, but what it boils down to is, did he win? Yes. Then those things get overlooked, and that's kind of just like with any player. If they've done something bad in the past, if they're good, you're gonna overlook that. Now, I'm not saying that's right, but I'm just saying Mile High Till I Die. I think you bring up a really good point, but that's why.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick has cheated several times. Would you want him?
Yeah.
Of course you
Yeah.
would.
Yeah.
But again, it's like a little bit different because he wasn't like, there was no
Hurting
like
people.
intent to injure.
Right.
Like
do you-
cheat. Yeah.
I would guess if this was happening in one place, it was happening in a lot of places.
True. Oh yeah, totally. But like that is the difference. Again, like that's the kind of thing where it's like trade for Kareem Hunt. There's other good running backs. Just don't touch that. But when it comes to Sean Payton, I'm ready to be over it. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a shitty thing for sure.
Yeah.
But
I think it's a good point that no one talks about it.
yeah, I just think that like if you ever want to like be on a moral high horse, football, you don't want to look into too deep into football.
That's a good point.
That's true.
Ale says Hackett talks on and on and on and on about accountability, then stands there and defends the status quo like we're freaking idiots. And maybe we are for getting our hopes up again for this absolute mess. That all the nepotism coaching hires are clueless. The players are all made of paper mache, and the quarterback is a $245 million Drew Lock clone. The ownership cares more about what they're going to build with their new stadium that the people of Denver will surely pay for it, and we are stuck looking for silver linings. I'm tired of looking for silver linings. The building is on fire. I don't care that the rugs look nice because the building is on fire. Surely my Sundays can be better spent elsewhere.
Like, my thing is, like, yeah, I don't mind him saying we're trying to hold guys accountable and stuff, but my thought is that they don't know how to fix it. I don't think there's any way to fix it. Like, that offense has been so bad. Like, maybe there's a path to scoring 17 a game instead of 14, but, like, there's no way that they're turning this into a good offense. I don't think they have the pieces. I think installing everything they need to install to turn things around would, like, I don't know.
There's no fixing it with the injuries.
Exactly. Like, they're just kind of screwed. So I don't. At this point, I'm not looking at Hackett and saying, wow, you really screwed up this week. No, you screwed up months ago, and this is just kind of the same effects playing out.
I think there was a very interesting tweet put out by the Broncos yesterday. They quote tweeted Nathaniel Hackett's press conference once and put out one quote. And it was about Nathaniel Hackett saying, like, everyone needs to be held accountable. The players, coaches, myself, I need to hold myself accountable. I think that is very intentional. That not only he said it, but that it was tweeted out by the Broncos. And I think that could be the start of the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Whiskey Cat says, hey, fam, I haven't been able to watch the Broncos for the last 2 games due to important family and friend events at the same time. Honestly, I think my emotional energy is so much better after not watching. The losses this season hit so much worse. I don't think I'll watch any of the rest of the games this season. I can get all the info on the games that I want right here. I'm still a fan through and through, but I really don't like submitting to the weekly world of suck for the 6th year in a row. Thank you for always being here, DNVR crew. Even though the Broncos suck, y'all are elite day in and day out.
Yep. Like, I've said a couple times, like, the games don't really matter. Like, I guess I have to watch, but I'd still watch just because, you know, Greg Dulcich is fun. Like, I enjoy watching Greg Dulcich, and when he does things, it's like, it's a minor win compared to what could be on the line at this point. But Nick Benito, when he made a couple plays in that game, you're like, oh, yeah, this is fun. So I do think if you're not watching, you miss out on some of that sort of stuff. Again, the games don't matter. I can't blame anybody for saying it's not.
2 games out of the playoffs.
Incredible.
Is that true?
Yes, it is, because the Chargers lost.
Wow.
It's wild, and you have 2 winnable games coming up.
Yeah.
Just insane.
I mean, I say that tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
But
you said it with the laugh, so we could tell that it was tongue in cheek.
Very obviously tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
It is true that when you don't watch, it never feels as bad.
No, 100%. It's just another number instead of 3 hours of your day with emotional investment.
But I enjoy doing that no matter what. Like, there'll never be a time where I don't watch a Buffs game on Saturday.
Yeah.
I was watching it at 3 a.m. in London when they were down by like 30.
Yep.
Actually, no, that was the ASU game at 3 a.m. and they were actually in that one. But I was watching it on the way back from the Leeds game. Like, they're just getting smoked by Oregon. I watched every single play. Yep. It's just like, I don't know. That's what I do.
Right.
Saturdays I watch the Buffs. Sundays I watch the Broncos. It'll be that way for the rest of my life.
Yep. And really appreciate the kind words, Whiskey Cat. That means a ton. Vivid Swing says, hey, guys. First of all, thank you for your incredible coverage and the tailgate in London. It was a blast and a pleasure to meet RK, although bummed I didn't run into the rest of you guys over there. Anyways, the bye week obviously didn't do any wonders for this offense, and Hackett still looks like he can't call a game. Is this the time to try and give Kubiak a shot at play calling? I know Outen is the offensive coordinator, but Clint at least has some experience calling plays.
You have to fire Outen first. There's no path. I mean, I don't think you can make the quarterback's coach the play caller without firing the offensive
And are you sure you'd want Kubiak to be the one calling plays and not Outen? Because sure, he's done it before, but also it was really bad.
Yeah, I mean, like the Colts hired a coach who's never been a coach, and they figured it out. So try whatever. I don't care.
It's like, look at what the Vikings are doing this year. You know, like, isn't that kind of a red flag? And if they do it, they do it. It makes sense to me why they'd make a change. But, like, are you sure you don't want Outen to do it just because he's never done it before? And who knows, maybe it works out.
I want me to do it.
Okay, well, who would be your second choice? Because I don't think that one's going to happen.
Did you guys see the Colts had to go to their second choice and play caller?
No.
Jeff Saturday. offered the job of play calling to the quarterback coach, and he turned it down because they didn't redo his deal.
Wow, I thought he was.
Yeah.
He said, like, wait, do I have to start Sam Ellinger? Because if so, then no, I don't want that sting on my resume.
Probably would have been smart. So then they gave it to the guy under him, the assistant quarterback coach. He looked pretty good yesterday. At least, putting up 25 points. I don't know, actually. I didn't watch the game very much.
Yeah. There's no magic fix. And I've said it before, it's kind of weird. Like, Nathaniel Hackett gave himself security by putting together such a bad coaching staff.
Yep, it's true. Next one from Holden Jenkins says, hey guys, what do you think the Broncos could do if Russ has another bad season next year? Are they just screwed for the foreseeable future? New member, thanks for the coverage. Thank you so much, Holden. We got him.
There's nothing. We got him. There's nothing they could do. Not this year, not next year, and not the year after that.
Unfortunately.
I mean, I guess after next year, you could probably start to have the conversations about drafting a quarterback. But they don't have a first-round pick next year.
They do, but a bad one. But it would be the 2024 draft when you could really kind of start having that conversation.
Wait, next year they have a first-round pick?
From the 49ers.
No, this year they have a first-round pick from the 49ers.
Yes.
Coming up, yeah. And then the following year they have their own first-round pick back.
Okay, so if he's bad next season, then after that you can probably start saying, okay, we have to scrap it all and go to the draft.
Yep. And at that point you should be going full rebuild where you're trading your good defensive players for good draft capital. You're really, truly tanking at that point.
And it would be a bad situation to be in. But in terms of like having to bring in a quarterback, like you have Russ there for a couple more years after that. You don't have to rush the rookie. You get to let him potentially like learn, sub in when he's ready. I think it could be a good situation for a rookie. Although, not a good situation for the Broncos, obviously, because they'd be in cap hell and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
In terms of for a rookie, I think that'd be one of the better situations for a rookie.
I think you got to figure out what's wrong with Russ and fix it. And I don't think someone can just go from being great to completely and utterly unfixable overnight.
That's fair, and I hope you're right. You probably should be right. I think you are right, but not a guarantee. Moogie94 says, wild game that really solidified in my mind who the real culprits are. The offensive coaching staff. They are walking frauds. They're not preparing this team to succeed, still getting pre-snap penalties on offense and still not adjusting the offense mid-game, etc. As Zach said, that one TD was a Wilson audible on the line. I wonder what awful play call Hackett had drawn up. It's almost like ignorance at this point. Hackett standing on his own grave and refusing to change a thing. One solution you all have to talk about for this season. If Outen is fired and Hackett is taken off play calling duties and Clint Kubiak takes over as OC, that's the only solution I see for this season, and this season only before Hackett is fired in the offseason. What do y'all think? Due to Wilson's previous success, I guess I'm still refusing to believe that he's past his best.
I think, with the staff, the biggest thing I think you see is just like those young receivers not really knowing where to be. Like, you watch, like, the Kurt Warner had that great breakdown where it's like, why did he take this release? Why was he leaning out this way instead of moving in this way? Like, there's so many of those little things that, like, you can't expect KJ Hamler to know all those things if nobody tells him. Same thing with Jerry Jeudy. Like, that's the biggest issue is that I feel like those receivers, the offensive linemen, they don't seem to know exactly where they're going. And again, that's Quinn Miners, who hasn't played a whole lot. Dalton Reisner's still a young guy. Lloyd Cushenberry, very young player. And so I do think you're not seeing those guys be elevated. But on top of that, like this offseason, what I'd love to see him do is go, like, keep the same receivers, but then just go add one of those journeyman veterans, like
Cooks.
Randall Cobb. Like, is there a little bit better Randall Cobb? Like Mohamed Sanu a couple years ago, and he's just kind of getting passed around. One of those guys you can sub in and just say, oh, if we need him, there's a guy who knows how to play receiver, and we can just put him in. If he teaches something to other guys, that's great. But the combination of coaches who aren't doing a great job coaching up players, young players who need to be coached up, it's just not looking good.
Yeah, I think it's a decent point, and I don't hate the idea. I think the biggest thing is going to be repairing this offensive line and figuring out who's calling the plays. Because I don't think it's going to be Nathaniel Hackett. And I think there's no shot the Broncos go young offensive coach again. So you're probably going experienced coach. Let's say it's not Sean Payton. They don't want to go down that route. Yep. Is it Frank Reich? Who's his offensive coordinator? Is it Dan Quinn? Because, that's where they wanted to go in the first place. And that's George Payton's defense of himself. Is he's like, well, I wanted to go Dan Quinn, but we didn't have the money to, pay him more than what the Cowboys wanted to pay him. So who's the offensive coordinator then? I think you have to nail that, and you got to figure out the offensive line. And that's two really big things. The offensive line is extra scary because you might have to refill 4 spots.
Yeah, which is wild.
Yep.
Very wild. The Chiefs did do it over one offseason, though.
They did. They did. And the Broncos did get some more resources to do that with the first-round pick for Chubb.
Yep. Crazy. All right. Any super chats that came in? Let's hit those. All right. First one here from Kevin says, first time super chatter, but long time watcher.
Yes.
Went to the game, and I hated about 34 minutes of it. O is bad, and Russ is worse. He ran into sacks 3 times, and I've never seen N2 spelled N2.
He did. Russ, I mean, the offensive line was bad, but Russ, I don't think helped him at all.
Yep. There's just so many issues with the offensive line. Like, he should be making them look better, and he doesn't. But there's also stuff where, Dalton Reisner, there's one play where he pulls around the end, and you've got like 2 tight ends over there, and then Dalton's going to like take this last guy on the edge and open things up. But the tight ends are kind of like letting this one guy slip through. And so Reisner bails and tries to clean him up. And so all of a sudden there's 2 guys who can come around that edge because he didn't do his job. And it's like, it's kind of on those tight ends to just, between the 2 of them, make sure this one guy doesn't get through. And if he does, it's going to be an arm tackle that Melvin has to break. Like, just do your job and don't worry about, oh, look what I just saw, and bail out, because then all of a sudden the run's stuffed. And so you're seeing that sort of thing because things aren't going well on top of just things not going well in the first place.
Yeah, it's something that I said all the way back in, I don't know, week 3 maybe. This team, or this organization from top to bottom, no one trusts anyone.
Yeah.
Right.
The owners don't trust George Payton. George Payton can't trust Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett can't trust his players to make their plays. Dalton Reisner can't trust, the tight ends to make a block. Russell Wilson can't trust his wide receivers to catch the ball.
Or
wide
his
receivers
offensive line.
can't trust Russ to find him. It's just top to bottom. No one trusts anyone. They're all kind of out there freelancing because of it.
It's true. It's very true. And last super chat from Jelly says, bring on Frank Wright. Love you guys. Well, I'll tell you what, if there's any coach that's been around trying to keep an older quarterback's career alive in the past 4 years, it's been Frank.
Did a pretty good job with Phillip Rivers.
He did.
Yeah,
did.
made the playoffs. Not with Carson Wentz, and not this year. Who knows how much was being put on him and forced on him? I'm not sure, but I mean, he has experience. Doesn't necessarily mean it's good experience.
Yeah, he also had a pretty big role in making Carson Wentz good in the first place.
Right, in Philadelphia.
And Nick Foles.
Yep.
That is a thing that happened.
So,
long time ago.
I don't know.
It's true.
I think he was part of one of the coaching searches that we covered.
I'd believe it.
And I wanted him then.
Yeah.
I'm like, now I've lost trust. I don't even, I mean, I guess I was right. Got to stick with my guns. I wanted Mike McDaniel. Trust my gut again.
Yep.
All right, 2 more super chats here. Orange says, okay. Is Hackett back next season? What's your prediction? No.
I'll say no.
I don't think anyone can really say yes at this point.
Okay. Also, if we fire Hackett, will we pursue Sean as head coach? I think it's a possibility.
I think you pursue him. Yeah. Like, you go and you
definitely
ask him, like, do you want to be our coach? Like, what's it going to take? And I think you almost definitely get shut down. And it ends right there.
Yep. He's going to be doing the coaching search. You're not going to be, like, he's interviewing you. You're not interviewing
It's a lot like the Peyton Manning conversation that everybody has, where it's like, oh, they should bring him into the front office. Or maybe he should be OC. It's like, well, if he wanted to take any job in the NFL, he could have that job. It's about him wanting it.
Yeah, I will say, we talk about a first-round pick. Let's just say Sean Payton's like, the only team I want to go to is the Broncos.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that give them all the negotiating power?
They would.
Well, no, because the Saints could just say, no, we're not going to trade you.
But then they're getting nothing either way.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I mean,
that is some power.
Yeah, it is.
I think you can get out of the first-round pick is what I'm saying.
Maybe. We've just seen when coaches get traded in the past, it is for a first.
Yeah, that's a little different.
Yeah, but if the Saints just say, no, we're not going to do it.
Right.
Then what are the Broncos going to do?
Yeah,
so
I guess it's
exactly
a game of chicken. Who's going to balk first?
Yep, exactly.
It'd be fun to cover at least.
It would be.
A couple of months
knowing
away.
George Payton, we'd hear nothing about it till it happens.
Right.
That's true. Fair enough. All right. that is going to wrap it up with for us today. We'll be back tomorrow. We're always back tomorrow.
Yep.
Appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you then.